Hi, welcome to Next Level Contractor. I'm Michael Bourgeois. Thanks for joining us today. With us, we have Noah Davis, who is a serial entrepreneur. This is part three of the Noah Davis podcast series. Noah is an extremely successful entrepreneur. He owns several businesses. He's bought and sold them. He started them from scratch. He's grown them and profited from them. He's done all kinds of businesses in a lot of different industries. He is part owner in a roofing and general contracting business. He also owns a company called One Exam Prep, or is president of a company called One Exam Prep that handles contractor exam prep. And then subsidiaries of that company handle insurance services, contractor state application services, and bookkeeping services. He is a wealth of information, and we're fortunate to have him here for a third time. So thank you so much, Noah, for spending some time with us today.
Thank you again, Michael. It's been great. And again, thank you for the kind words.
Oh, thanks for being here. Um, as you know, if you've watched the channel before, if you haven't watched the channel before, what we do is we try to give information or advice to brand new contractors. We want to take you from day zero, day one, all the way through to day 365 or day 720 or 730, whatever 2 years is. We want to we want to make sure that you don't become a statistic, right? Most businesses fail within the first couple of years, so we want to take you from your first dollar to your first $1 million. And the way we do that is by interviewing successful contractors and successful business people to get information and advice for you to be able to start your business the right way and keep it going in the early phases of business. That's where Noah is gonna help us out here. If you haven't seen the previous videos where we interviewed Noah, he gave us information regarding starting the business. He gave us information regarding running the business. And today we're going to ask him some questions that came in about growing the business. So you started it, you started running it, and now we want to know how to grow the business. So, Noah, without wasting any of your precious time, let me get right into it. The question is, when should I expand my team or services?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. So I think last time we talked about starting the business and not getting ahead of yourself. Um, you, I think early on when you're running, when you're in that early stages, you really want to try to do as much as you can to the point where you just it's almost like a burnout. And you're not going to burn out in the first year, so I don't think you have to worry about that. But the reason why you want to get to that point is because you want to get to the point where um, where you feel like you have no other choice but to hire somebody. And what we're not talking about more crews. If you have jobs and you need more crews and you need to do that, that's a kind of a given. That's kind of a cost of goods sold situation. But we're talking, I think what you're asking about is, um, office staff, admin staff that can't be billed directly to a particular job. Um, and I think that's where you don't want to start too early and hire a bunch of people in anticipation of jobs. Even if I think one of the worst things that can happen is you get a contract with a company to do. They say, well, I'm going to give you 10 houses, or I'm going to give you 10 kitchen remodels. Let's start with the first one, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta hire enough staff to handle all those 10 remodels, and I don't have enough staff. Slow down, okay. um, I don't want to be pessimistic, but the truth is, a lot of these situations and excitement don't always work out the way you want it to. So don't don't staff to that. Okay, staff to what's in the immediate and the now, and don't rely on someone else outside of your business telling you how much business they're going to bring you. Okay, so first of all, I would rather have early on lots of accounts, small accounts. Like what gets me excited is the $10,000 job, the $25,000 job. If somebody wants me to go bid on $1 million job, and I'm a small company, that sounds great and it sounds exciting, but you're going to do a lot better early on with a whole bunch of $25,000 jobs, $50,000 jobs that are, you can control. You can control with less staff. There's less uncertainties about it, and you're not going to have to go out and hire a bunch of admin. I really believe you want to be wearing all the hats early on. Do as much as you can to the point where you're like, I don't have any time in my day, and I don't have a choice. I need to bring in somebody who's going to help me. You got to get to that point, and don't let optimism get in there and dictate to how you hire. Make the actual dollars and cents force you to hire. Meaning, don't don't rely on a contract that says they're going to deliver. Even if it's signed and sealed, doesn't mean they're always going to deliver. Stuff happens. Like, don't expect that to happen. Just play it. What I call on a cash basis. If you know things about accounting, there's cash and there's accrual. Cash basis means how much money is coming into my bank account today. That's how you manage your business. What expenses do I have? You cut the checks right there and then, and that's how your business is based. Accrual is well, I bill for something and I immediately assume I'm getting paid for it. You don't want to be in that mode early on. You want to be in that cash mode. Everything's about cash. About, how much cash do I have in the bank? How much cash am I going to spend in the next week? How much cash is coming in the door? And you want to operate like that. Operate wearing many hats and only go and hire when it's just you just like, I can't even breathe. That's really what, in my opinion, what I would be doing early on to not get into a bad situation.
Let me ask you this, Noah.
Mhm.
You mentioned you're talking about the admin side of the hiring, right? The
The
office
admin, the
help answering.
marketing, it
Okay,
doesn't matter what it's you know it, no matter what it is, it's overhead that can't be directly tied to a job. Okay, that's really, if it's directly tied to a job, that you should have enough margin from that job to have profit on that. If you have admin, it just adds to the overall
so
uh,
hiring the skilled
overhead.
labor is a given, is what you're
That,
saying.
that yeah.
Um, and the reason I ask that is because there's I guarantee a lot of brand new contractors that are coming from being in the trade
Mhm.
for years, right? So I mean, potentially they were project managers, they could be foremen, supervisors in the field. I mean, they're used to possibly doing the hands-on stuff in the business itself. So are you saying, um, once you become a contractor, uh, try to, as quickly as possible, stop being your own skilled labor, and then that way you can handle all the other responsibilities in the business?
No, I don't think you should stop your skilled labor. What I mean by wearing all the hats, I mean wearing all the hats. And if
Got it.
that means you're the project manager, absolutely you should be on those initial jobs. There's no question you should be on those initial jobs. You should be taking your sales calls from those jobs. I don't think it's actually a bad thing when you pick up the phone, your cell phone, and a potential customer's calling in and they hear you on the job site. That sounds like you're busy. That sounds like you are actually personally taking care of their business. So early on, I really don't think that's a problem to have a professional, secretary that's answering the phone. I don't think that's necessary. I think you can really play it, um, just the calls are coming into your cell phone. You're on the job site. They might hear some noise. You're talking to to your workers, and you're managing a whole. You're out in the field 8 hours a day, and then you come home at night and you're doing their paperwork and you're following up on your leads. I mean, that's what I mean. You shouldn't
Just keeping
stop.
that overhead down as low as possible for as long as possible.
If you can keep it to zero or as close to zero as possible early on, that's I mean, then at least you're going to survive, right? If you don't want to, because what people have a hard time doing is letting go when they need to let go. So there's a saying that says, hire slow, fire fast, right? Which is basically means that the you hire slow because you want to find the right person, right? You want to take your time and really do it right. Do it right. It's the same thing with actually cutting, right? You measure twice, cut once, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So it's the same. But the reason what most people have a hard time firing fast is because and they get emotional. There's emotions tied to that person. They develop a relationship, and then that person tells them they have a family, and and so now they think, okay, I can go another week, I can go another 2 weeks, maybe jobs will come in and I'll be able to afford that person. Don't be put in that situation early on where you have to make those choices, and that's taking money out of your pocket. You've got to be, unfortunately, you've got to be greedy early on. And mean greedy meaning the money, you got as much of the money's got to come to you as possible so that you can put the money in your pocket so you can invest in the business long term. But you gotta stay a little greedy early on.
Don't be too generous, huh? Early
Yeah,
on.
yeah, it means you're being generous. You're hurting your family.
So you got to work to earn the right to be that generous. I got you.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, and I think you mentioned that last on the previous episode. You said you got to pay yourself first always.
That's tough. That's really, really tough to do. I'm telling you, it's when you've got all these obligations. You should really stick to it. Really stick to it because again, going back to what I said the last time, it's really hard to once you don't pay yourself first, and whatever, let's say you're supposed to have a certain amount of money at the end. Well, then there's an opportunity, a marketing opportunity, or I can go buy some leads, or I can go hire this person. Oh, I got to do that because it's going to grow my business. No, take your money home first, put it in the bank, and then if there's extra money, go do that. Right? Don't put your family at risk. Just don't do that. It's not worth it.
Great advice. Okay, so another question that came in
Mhm.
uh, is how do I effectively manage multiple projects at once?
Good. That's so now luckily you have that opportunity, right? So you should be thankful you have multiple projects going on. Well, that's where you're going to. I still believe you need to be going back and forth to the projects. You still need to be on top of that. Now if you have multiple projects going on, you maybe have, your crew leader, right? Your crew leader now is stepping up a little bit more. They're getting a little bit more responsibility, and now they can possibly be at the job site when you're not there, and you'll feel okay about it. That's when you're really going to find who your next person, your right hand person is going to be, who your project manager is going to be one day when you're able to step out of the field. So it's a really good time to really figure out who's going to rise to the top, amongst the actual skilled labor that you have. Someone is going to want to take that responsibility and that leadership position, and they're going to show you, and you're going to ask them to. You don't need to pay them right away more. I mean, maybe a little bit, but you don't need to suddenly make someone a project manager. Hey, I'm doing so many projects. I gotta hire project manager. I got to elevate someone to a project manager level. No, ask them to prove it. Say, look, I see you as a potential to become a project manager one day. I'd like to see that you can get there. Show me for the next couple months that you're capable of leading a job or leading a few jobs. And, we'll talk and sit down after 90 days and see what that looks like. Give them, challenge them to rise to the level. They want that opportunity just as much as you want them to have to rise to that level. So I think that's you're hopefully going to have people under you that have that skill to become a leader. And if you don't, you do need to find those people. I mean, you got to find skilled labor that is willing to want to challenge themselves and want to do better for their families and for themselves.
Somebody with some drive.
Exactly. No, hunger. I think we talked about hunger last time. Hopefully, you have some hungry people in your organization that, even at a small level, even when you're starting out, there's somebody's going to want to make more than they're going to be happier, going to be trying to make more than they are today. That they aspire for that, and then you got. That's why getting a little bit into their, you know, about what they have beyond work is kind of important, just to hear about Are they working towards their family? Do they need to put food on their table? Are they, are they putting in, those people are putting in the extra hours without you having to tell them. So they're going out to drive to Home Depot for something that you didn't even know about, and they just did it, right? They did the thing without you even knowing about it. And those are the people, or they went to go back to the customer who had a problem, and they called in, and they took the 30-mile drive to go back and do something for that customer without you even knowing. That's somebody who's humble. We talked about being humble, being hungry, right? Those are the qualities you want, and hopefully, their communication skills are good enough to elevate them.
Uh, interesting that this segues kind of into the next question. Speaking of, finding these key people, what are the best ways to network and build industry relationships?
Hmm. Okay, so networking you usually think about for marketing, right? Growing your business, and I do think there's there are whole organizations that this is all they do. They make their money off of networking, right? There's every state, city, you can join some kind of chapter, go to some kind of breakfast, right? There's something everywhere. Um, Usually, I think you don't have to necessarily do that. I think um, the some really good advice that I've been given over the years, just from in the construction side, is to visit your local realtors, and go to their offices, bring donuts for them, maintain relationships with those people, because they run into more projects than you think. And I can't tell you, this has actually happened recently where, we started this initiative. We had an initiative that some people from our office would go to realtors' offices, and I can't tell you how many jobs we've landed just from, you know a realtor knows a developer who's building homes, and now they're looking for a new contractor. You got to be planting seeds everywhere, and I think that's something you can schedule into your week, where I'm going to take 2 hours a week, and I'm going to go visit an office. I'm going to go visit them once every 6 months. I'm going to bring them donuts and bring them something, and just putting your face out there. That's you don't have to necessarily attend a fancy, you know pay for a you know $500 a month breakfast, or an expensive membership. I think your focus early on is just getting jobs. Your focus
Got it.
is not, when you go to these big events, you're going to meet. Think about who you're going to meet. You're meeting, first of all, there's other salespeople there, right? The people who go there are not going to be, if you're going there looking for jobs, they're also mostly vendors there. But that's who goes to a lot of these events, or vendors, executives. If you're starting out, you may not be at that level yet. It may not be worth your time. It may be cool to mingle with other successful construction companies, but in my opinion, I think you may be wasting a little bit of time if you have other places to be. Focus on your local community. Do the realtor thing. There's other kinds of people like that you can go and talk to. So in terms of networking, that's what's free and what I would do early on. What else was there? What other was that the whole question? There was more to that.
I mean, it's what's the best ways to network and build industry relationships.
Mhm.
But it sounds to me like what you're saying is, in the beginning, I mean, the networking events are great and everything. There's all these like conferences and networking events for people in your industry. But what you're saying is, if you're going to go to a networking event, make sure it's a local networking event where there is access to people that are, not necessarily a roofer, not necessarily a general contractor. There's something else where
Mhm.
you can access their network, like realtors.
Yeah, yeah. You
Gotcha.
can speak. You can go to realtors' offices and say, "I'd like to speak to you guys." They have events. They have lunches. Can I sponsor one of your lunches and just talk to you guys all at the same time?
Oh,
Um,
buy
you
them
can,
lunch, huh?
oh yeah, buy them lunch. It doesn't cost them
Oldest trick
anything.
in the book.
It works. It works. It still works. People still need to eat. So um,
Cool.
yeah. So I
No, that's
just
a
think
good idea.
going to, certainly, like you said, stay local. Don't go if you're in um, you know Sarasota. Don't go to Orlando for an event. Like, unless you're planning to do work out there, like, stay local. Really local. Sometimes local. You can do little things like sponsoring teams and stuff like that, putting your jerseys on the teams. That sometimes does work locally. But again, you don't need to spend money early on. Just you need to put in a
Just
little
need
bit
to
of sweat.
introduce yourself.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Got it. Well, no, that makes perfect sense. I mean, that's a smart way to go about it. I guess that's kind of the way that's worked for a 1,000 years, right?
Mhm.
Just just walking around, introducing yourself to people.
Yeah. People nowadays are so much, virtual that they forget, how valuable the handshake is, right?
That's right. I mean, they say people like to do business with people that they know or people that they
Hmm.
like.
Right.
So I'm sure if you walked into a real estate office and introduced yourself to everybody and they liked you, they
Yeah.
would they would refer you over anybody else.
Yeah, and I'm
I'm
telling you,
sure.
it's worked for me. I know many contractors that have given that advice that they swear on it. So it's now. I mean, look, if you're a certain kind of contractor, you're a marine contractor, you do underground utilities. I mean, there's certain contractors that have to think a little bit differently. But for the
Right.
general HVAC, roofer, plumber,
Home
um,
services.
yeah, yeah,
Got it. So this is advice for home service businesses. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure if you're looking for DOT contracts because you're like doing roads, yeah,
Well,
it probably wouldn't work too good.
advice for, so I would say if you're doing the bigger, if you're somebody who's doing, heavy construction, highway and things like that, then yeah, those events, going to some of these events are going to make a difference because you're meeting the executives who need these subs. Okay, so that actually would play to those. If you need to go find the huge billion-dollar developers that need, your specialty. That is, you're playing a different
Right.
game at
Okay.
that
So
point.
that's
Yeah.
kind of that's what those networking events are. These are for like, $1 million and above kind of thing.
They won't say that. They want everybody to come, but I can tell you again, who's attending. These are the people that, they want to intermingle with their friends, and they're bringing their sales team, they're bringing their people, and you got to be at a certain size to bring your team, right? So
Yeah.
just think about who's coming, and but you can get access to them at these things. They do like to go to the breakfasts or they get the games and go, that kind of stuff. So
This episode of the Next Level Contractor is sponsored by One Contractor Solutions, Florida's leading provider of back office services for builders, contractors, subcontractors, and developers. From permit expediting and private provider services to contractor municipality registrations, insurance supplement assistance, and bookkeeping, they are your one-stop shop for managing your contractor back office. Save time and money with One Contractor Solutions. Get a free, no obligation quote today at www.onecontractorsolutions.com or call 954 233 0155. So if the goal is, if you're just starting out and the goal is, big commercial or big government contracts at any cost, then, yeah, maybe some big networking event would be the way to go. But if you're going about this in a methodical way, as you're describing, Noah, then
mhm.
yeah, I mean, just go to every realtor office in town. I mean, that makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Makes
There's not that
perfect sense.
many in your town, I'm sure of it. So,
Right. And, there really is plenty of business, is what I find. I was a traveling technician for years, years and years, and a traveling trainer. And the one thing I notice is that people are the same everywhere you go. I mean, there's just plenty of work everywhere. Everybody likes to say, well, uh, around here, it's different because, but everybody says that. Everywhere you go, everybody says, well,
Yeah.
no, it's different here because it's different here because, but it's really not. We're all so much more similar than we are different.
the, the advice I've gotten from roofers in Texas, apply to Florida, apply to California, apply
Right.
to, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. And what's surprising to me is I've always been I used to be skeptical. Why are these guys giving away their secrets if it's so good, right? Why they're telling me to do this or that. Like they must be they have their own tricks up their sleeves, and it's not. The truth is successful contractors are happy to give away their secrets because there's enough business to go around. They know the one thing that once you get big enough, the really good ones have developed processes that will beat the people without processes. So early on, when you're really early, your attention to detail and your care to the being the owner talking to the customer is going to beat the really big guys. Once you start to grow, once you start to really get beyond a certain level, and you can't be the one who's attending to every job, you have to develop processes that are going to be that are going to beat your competition in terms of their process to get those reviews, to get that wow experience, because you're going to have to substitute yourself for somebody else.
Processes, man.
Yeah,
I think that's probably a hot topic that could be an entire podcast in itself, is
yeah,
getting
for sure.
processes in place, right? That's,
Hmm.
whew, man. Um, that is I'm a process guy myself, so I don't know. I don't like to use the phrase pet peeve, but if I had one, it would be
I
something
I
to do
have
with processes.
you will yes, and I'm that's good that you recognize that, because I think a lot of people do not recognize that until it's either too late or they've done it the wrong way for so long that there's no going back.
Right, it's almost like
And
they have a bad process
it's a
because
yeah,
they never
and
made a process.
once you get to a certain level, you have no choice but to develop processes that are airtight, that are um, and really your whole day is spent making fine tuning those processes and making sure that everything is falling in line correctly. I mean, that's what I spend a lot of my time is developing the processes, because your goal ultimately is to make money when you sleep, right? That's as a
Yeah,
business owner, you want to make money when you sleep,
that should be everyone's goal.
right? But you can't do that if number one, if you're doing everything. Again, this is not for the person who's just starting, but as you grow, that's where you want to get to, and you got to develop processes that have either other people doing it or technology doing it. And technology can do a lot. There's so much that technology can do nowadays that can help you make money when you're technically not working.
Yeah, I'm sure that
Mhm.
I'm sure everybody would tune in for that podcast too. How to Make Money When You Sleep
That's right. Yeah.
by Noah Davis. um, all right, so next question. Uh, how can I stand out from competition in my local market? I think you touched on it a lot in the previous question, but is there anything else specifically for standing out from competitors in your local market?
Um, okay, so you know, you can say, oh, you got to work harder than everybody else. But so number one, there's enough business for you and the other guy and the other girl and everything like that. There's plenty of business out there. How do you stand out? Well, what you're really looking, what are you trying to get? You're trying to get the free business. How do you get free business? It's referrals, right? So how do you get referrals? How are you going to get, you got to think of it, for every job you do, you want two referrals. That's ideally what you want. That's the the really good companies that I've seen, when they're doing, let's say, a roofing company, and they're doing a roof on a house. What are they doing? They're canvassing the neighborhood, and they're because it's the perfect time to tell people, hey. And the common trick, I guess you can call it, or whatever that people use, is they'll go, you have the salesperson who's going to all the neighbors on the whole block, on multiple blocks, and they're doing a roof, and they'll say, oh, I just want to stop by and let you know that if there's any noise or any issues you have with, we're doing a roof down the block, I don't want there to be any problems for you. Just let me know. Here's my card. If
Right.
if
Here's my
you hear
number.
any problems, and it gets people all the time. It's like, oh, you're doing a roof. Oh man, I need a roof, or I know my cousin needs a roof or something like that. That's,
Yeah.
you
Here's
have
a
to do
refrigerator
that.
magnet with my phone number on it. Yeah. Just go stick that
Yeah,
on your fridge.
right. But
Look at it every day.
how do you stand out? I think, so again, it's number one, are you getting two referrals for every job that you're doing? That's, if you're hitting that goal, then you're standing out because you're better than you. What you've done is you've created a system that's better. Um, I think if you want to get two referrals for every job that you do, you have to be super focused on getting that 5-star review from everybody, which means that you're getting, not only getting a 5-star review, you're getting a video testimonial. You're the customer is so happy with you that they're willing to do that. And so I'm a big believer in content, meaning that the more video you do, the more the video is more powerful than text, and so the more video testimonials you do, better it is. Um, Better than even just a 5-star review. So you want to achieve to get that. And how do you get those video reviews? Did you bring a gift to the customer at the end of the job, right? There's really, if you're someone's spending $15,000 on a roof with you, bringing them a $50 monogrammed glasses is not a big deal. I mean, you can do
Oh,
this
you're talking about swag now, huh?
uh, I look, again, this is getting a little bit further down the road, but you got to stand out, right? How do you stand out? I love when you can create a moment that I call it the wow moment, where that customer is going to tell their friend, wow, I can't believe the roofer gave me this set. That's so, this monogram set. Like, wow, I can't.
Right. This
You
super
want
nice
them to be
thing.
able to have a story, right? That they can tell their friends. That's a referral, right? You have to be willing to ask. I mean, I know we're getting into sales now a little bit beyond just standing out, but it's about your methods. Are you willing to ask every single customer? I would really appreciate it if you have two other friends that I could call, and not just like ask them, can you give me their names and phone numbers? Literally ask for it and make them give it to you. Like, force you, if you have a salesperson, that should be part of your process where they're actually getting it. They shouldn't be able to leave the house without those, because otherwise then you failed. You didn't get your two referrals, right? You can't count on the person to remember down the road. Can I mention, do you mind, do you have two names that you can give me, that I can use your name, that, it really, we're a small business, would really mean a lot to me if you did that. And if you did that job, then, you have to be willing to do things you're uncomfortable with. I'm a big believer in that. Every day you should do something that you're uncomfortable with, because that's how you're stepping out of the box and you're growing. So,
Uh, yeah,
you
that's
know,
great advice. And I mean, it's okay if we step into the realm of sales today, because I mean, that's growing the business, right? That's the
mhm,
topic. So,
right.
um, yeah, no, that's great. So get two referrals per job, monogram stuff. Like what's an example of something monogram that you've given or that
So
you would like to receive?
So we used to do, at one company, and you can do this all online. There's so many options online, but you can do shot glasses with like a little
Like a
decanter,
laser etched thing in it?
and then you just put so what we used to do is you said the first letter of their name, not the whole name, because it gets, and then because it's easier to, especially when you're doing volume, you could have many letters and just have them ready to go. But for, I think for 40-50 bucks, the glasses that look nice, um, come in a nice box. Like, there's so many websites out there that will do that. So I think kitchenware is always nice for a house. Um, you don't try to put your logo on it and try to like shove it so that that the logos on everything that they're using. So give them a like a cutting board with your big logo on it. Like, are they going to really use that? Like, what are you hoping to gain out of that? You want them to use it, or you want them to appreciate something beautiful and nice that even if they don't use it, they're
Yeah, they
like,
might
wow,
use the
that's really
flip side
nice,
of it that doesn't have your logo on it.
right? No,
Yeah.
they'll remember where it came from. Will or, will their friends see it when they're looking at it in the house? No, but hopefully you've done your job and you've given them, a reason to talk about it.
That's nice. So, um, that's interesting. When you said a monogrammed gift, I actually thought you meant with the company logo on it. So you're talking about something monogrammed that's personal to them.
I think
And
so. I
and you're
mean,
saying like maybe have something with one letter, like the letter of their last name, like the first letter
mhm,
of their last name, and just
yeah.
have A through Z sort of locked and loaded, sort
Well,
of,
you don't need to have A through Z. You have the common ones. You have a few common ones, and nowadays you can find like print on demand places that you can get something within a week or two. So yeah, I might stock, a bunch of the more common last names. Or if I'm doing, look, if you're doing a job and you've got your deposit, you may have a couple weeks till the job is finished anyway.
mhm.
And you don't have to deliver it the day it's done. You can come in for a follow up a few days later. It's still okay to say, hey, I'm checking in. I wanted to stop by and just thank you so much for us allowing us to do your roof or your plumbing or whatever it is, and bring them that. It's an extra visit. One thing I believe in is touches. The more touches, the better. That's going to create more awareness and more remembrance and things like that.
But that's a super classy move. What about before? What about before the project is done? Any gift giving there?
So I do believe in that as well. It should be that. I believe in, um, you can potentially. So in other businesses I've been involved with, there I do believe in sometimes gift giving for a prospect, but you have to really believe in your process that you have a good chance of closing them. That adding a little bit of money is going to help. Um, that also, that is going to be simpler, and I find that if you can, um, give them something unique that identifies with them. So what I mean is, if they're if they had just had a new baby, giving them something that's related to that, ordering something on Amazon for them for that. Again, you have to have this in your process. Doing this once is not going to, I think if you have this in your process, that your salespeople, or you find a little bit about their lives and their hobbies. What sports team are they a fan of? Are they a fan of the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Marlins or whoever it is? Sending them a hat in the mail. If that's part of your budget, that goes a long way. Like, wow, I can't believe the plumber sent me a hat. No obligation,
Right.
not like, so
Yeah.
it's something, again, something unique that makes you stand out. Um, but sending something with your logo, like a mouse pad with your logo, is not gonna win them over, I think. So, there's
I'm sure
different
that's probably
tactics.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah, mouse pad with a logo is probably not the one.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think there's also, in terms of setting yourself apart, I've seen some really great, um, promotions where they're, giving away something. So giving away a roof to a veteran, or giving away a job, a kitchen remodel to a veteran, where they do this. You have to do this on social media, where you do a big announcement and say, everybody submit the person that could really use this kitchen remodel. Like, we're going to give away a kitchen remodel when we get, on this date, and you got to really promote it and know what you're doing. But that does, you got to create some buzz around it. Uh, if you can build up an attraction for that. So there's things like that you can do as well.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if you could get your crew to buy in on that too.
Hmm.
For
Yeah. So you you need to get to the point where your staff, your crew, is delivering the same kind of message you as the owner are delivering. So and this is really hard. This is really really hard. You may believe in something, in some, in a way that you do things, but can you get your team to have the same passion and message? That's, I've seen companies that do that, and it's a whole different level. You just look at them and you're like, wow, I wish we could aspire to be like that, because I know nobody's beating them. They're not scared of any competition because they know they win every job that they get their hands on. If you can get to that point, that's a big point. It takes a lot of work and determination, and
To be the company that everybody else wants to be.
yeah, just but to speak if you're, everybody in your company can recite to you what the mission of the company is, and can breathe and sleep. It's hard, but I've seen 1,000-person companies who do that. There are some companies that, when you read some of these books about, there are some of these great business books about businesses. That has a lot to do with culture. I mean, culture is once you get to, even at a small level, you can build culture, but if you can get a certain culture going at a company, it's
Right.
really hard
So
to
if the people at the company are like actual fans of the company, right? Like
fan
raving
made.
fans
Yeah.
of the company.
That's yes, there that does help. Yeah.
I bet it does.
Mhm.
We don't have a lot of time left, Noah. I appreciate the
Mhm.
time that you're giving me. I have a handful of questions.
Mhm.
So I don't want to hit you with a rapid fire.
We can try.
But what financial metrics should I track to measure growth?
Um, so um, I think you want to look at, depending on your business. If you're doing a lot of volume, I do think you want to look at, looking at dollars or revenue is only one item. It's not going to show your growth. You could do $100,000 job and then have a bunch of $5,000 jobs. It's going to look bad. But I would be looking at revenue is one, obviously, but I think looking at the number of jobs, um, and looking at the number of leads that you get that turn into jobs. Okay, so I think way back in our first meeting, we talked about how to back into, if you want to make $1 million a year, how do you back into figuring out how to do that? And
Right, you
we
just
talked about
reverse engineer the numbers.
right, so breaking into small bite-sized pieces on a weekly basis, and you backed it in all the way to figure out how many, if you know how many leads it takes to close a sale, you then know what your target is, what your goal is. So again, if you know that it takes 10 leads to make a sale, then, and you want 2 sales a week, you got to go get 20 leads. And so how do you go get 20 leads? So I think numbers that mean something to you, not just like what your balance sheet is, and what your uh, net income ratio or your asset ratio or other things like that don't matter to you. You know, leads to quotes, quotes to sales. How many leads do you actually, phone calls do you get? How many, form leads off your website do you get, is number one. How many of those turn into an actual quote where you get them on the phone and you go visit their house, do an estimate, is number two. And then how many actually turn into a sale?
Those
Those,
are the metrics.
to me, those are the ones that would mean
Yeah,
the
the
most.
conversion rate and the close ratio, right?
Exactly right.
Those
Yeah.
are the ones.
Mhm.
All right, good to know. Okay, next question. How can I use technology to streamline my business operations?
Mhm. Um, So we talked about having a project manager, some kind of project manager out there that, there's technology out there that can do that. Um, I would start with that as your cornerstone, just having something that is going to be solid that can just manage your whole project. Having that and having an accounting software, the two of those are going to go a long way. And something that makes sure that whatever you use, especially for your project management, is mobile friendly, that your people in the field can use it also when they're at the job site. that they can that it's not something
Right.
you have to go back to your desktop and do. That you can have iPads or you can have your mobile phone and be able to do the same functions. And a lot of them do that, but there are some that are old. And I would ask that if you're interviewing demoing software, that you really look at its mobile functionality for the field.
That seems like a pretty important detail.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So project management software, accounting software, and start there.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Last question. Then I promise I'll let you go. This one's, I think, a huge question. It's something I struggle with.
Mhm.
What should I know about scaling without losing quality? I'm positive there's tons of people who do the work themselves. They do beautiful work, and they can never outgrow what they can physically, personally, control the quality of because they're so deathly afraid of losing quality at scale.
Um, well, that's partially to the person who is a little bit OCD about that and is compulsive about that in their nature. I think you have to be able to uh, look. Yeah, quality is critical if that's in almost everything, but you have to be willing to. Usually, that comes to not being willing to delegate at all. So if you're somebody that, if you want to grow, you're going to have to delegate that quality control aspect. Like you have to. That's why I said, if your people that work for you share your same values or can recite your same values, and they see how important it is that you are spot checking the quality on every project, or your staff or your project manager spot checking the small things, right? They care about the little details. Then your workers are going to know they can't get anything by you. They're not going to do anything just to get it done. They're going to know that you check the little things, right? It's kind of like when you've got to uh, you've got to care about the details that will affect the big stuff. Like when there's always stories about when cities are have a lot of crime. What do you do? What's the strategy to combat crime? Is you attack the little things like the graffiti, the things like that, because those, if you're even caring about that stuff, then the bigger criminal stuff, they know that you're on top of that too. So care about the make little points about the details. Don't every detail, but like know that if the worker knows that you're going to spot check, you could spot check at any time, then they'll care about the quality too because they want to keep their job and they're going to share your passion. So that will allow you to, if you can get good at that process, at
Well, there's the
delegating.
magic word, isn't it? Process.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So you can develop a process out of your how you care about quality control. That can be part of your process. You can grow from there, because it
So get
can be
get the
part of your process.
process in place, and then get quality person or people that you believe in. I guess would be the way to sort of
Or
let go so you can scale.
or imagine just having a checklist that everybody uses the same checklist. You got to have this checklist signed off. Everything's got to be checked. It did this and this happen, and is it signed off by the project manager? Okay, that forces them to hold themselves accountable. So.
Yeah, I've heard it said that it's easier to manage the process than it is to manage the people because
Hmm.
the process will manage the people, and all you have to
Right.
do is manage the process.
Yes.
If I'm saying it right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Well, I know we're out of time. I know you got to go. Thank you so much once again for sharing all this information. We hope to have you back if you can squeeze us in to your schedule. Just we'd love to have you on the show. So really appreciate it. If you are watching this at home or in your car or wherever, and you got something out of it, you learned something, you found it beneficial, like and share. It helps us out a ton. We've, we're The channel is growing, and we're so grateful for that. Every like, every share, every subscribe really helps out a lot. So thank you, Noah, and thanks to everybody watching, and we'll see you next time.